Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Public Reaction channel. We have to talk about The Voice. Every season, there's that one audition that becomes an instant legend. Not because it's a four-chair turn, but because of the sheer drama of what didn't happen. And this year, that title belongs to Trevor Hewitt. Trevor stepped onto the stage, poured his soul into Chris Stapleton's epic track, I Was Wrong, and delivered a performance filled with raw power, grit, and incredible emotion. But here's the unbelievable twist. 0. Chair turns. Not a single coach, not Reba, not Snoop Dogg, not Michael Bublé, and not Niall Horan hit their button. The online reaction has been absolute confusion, outrage, and a massive wave of support. People are asking, what exactly went wrong? Was it nerves? Was it the song choice? Or did the coaches completely miss one of the best voices of the season? We're diving deep into the public reaction. Wait until you hear why some fans are absolutely furious with Reba McEntire and the other coaches for letting him walk away. But first, if you've ever screamed at your TV because a coach didn't turn for a singer you loved, you know the pain. Hit that like button right now if you think Trevor should have gotten a chair turn, and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our deep dive into the rest of The Voice season. The majority of people are in disbelief. The phrase we keep seeing again and again is, I can't believe that no one turned. Many viewers just couldn't comprehend the decision. They felt the performance was more than enough for a spot on a team. Someone said, everything he did was enough for at least 1 or 2 chairs. People repeatedly described Trevor as a great singer and simply good. One person was so impressed, they straight up called him a pro. They especially loved his grasping voice and the raw, emotional quality he brought to the powerful song. In fact, the frustration has grown so high that the public is now campaigning for his return. Phrases like bring him back and he should come back are everywhere. It's clear that fans feel a major injustice has been done, and some people are specifically calling out the coaches. One viewer directly addressed the country queen herself, saying, Reba, I love you, but I think you really lost out on this one. It seems the consensus is that a major opportunity was missed. Now, the second camp agrees that Trevor is talented, but they point directly to his decision to tackle a Chris Stapleton classic. Chris Stapleton is an absolute giant, and covering one of his songs is like walking a tightrope with no safety net. Many people felt that Trevor was dead wrong choosing that song. It's a track known for its immense power and complex vocal runs, and some felt it was just too hard for a blind audition. The consensus here is that the song worked against him, not for him. Several people suggested he would have easily sailed through with something less intimidating. One person even mentioned an alternative, saying maybe Broken Halos would have done him justice. That's a fascinating thought. A more subtle, Stapleton song might have allowed his tone to shine without forcing him to hit the ceiling right out of the gate. Another fan, who praised the initial emotion, grit, and spreading those vowels, still acknowledged it was eggs to the wall for most of the performance, suggesting the intensity was just too high for the coaches in that moment. It's the classic voice dilemma: choose an obscure song and risk no one knowing it, or pick a massive hit and risk an unfair comparison to the original artist. In this case, the latter might have been his undoing. This is where the debate turns a little critical, but it also offers a very human explanation for the result. This group of viewers felt the performance had noticeable technical issues. The main criticisms revolve around pitch and control. One short, blunt message simply said, flat, 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 flat. Others were a little kinder, saying he was very pitchy, and the runs, those rapid shifts in notes that Stapleton is famous for, came under fire. Someone observed that the runs weren't great, kinda all over the place. They noted that while he has a great voice, he needs control of his runs before a coach would turn. Another viewer noticed he went for the high notes out the gate, and felt the initial execution was rushed or uncontrolled. But here's where this camp connects. Back to the positive side, they believe this was mostly due to nerves. 2 separate viewers, one of whom was actually in the crowd for the audition, confirmed that the pressure was palpable. They believe Trevor has it all: full voice, rasp, but just needs more experience, and that his nerves got the better of him. They called it very close. This is a beautiful summary of the situation. a singer with huge talent, a questionable song choice, and an unfortunate case of stage fright in a high-pressure moment. This perspective offers a fantastic look at the real-world connection people have to these contestants. One viewer chimed in not just as a fan, but as someone who knows Trevor and his band personally. They wrote, "Sounded good, Trevor. I just saw this guy live at a festival in the woods this past weekend with his band, and they put on one heck of a show, as usual." This confirms what the critics are saying. Trevor is a seasoned performer outside the competition. His live shows are excellent. This makes the nerves theory even more believable, since even someone who performs regularly can be overwhelmed by the voice stage. This person also pointed out that Trevor has a rock voice, which is an interesting observation. Perhaps attempting a pure country soul track like Stapleton's didn't fully use the rock edge his voice naturally carries. This is a strong reminder that the voice is often less about talent and more about finding the perfect song and the perfect moment. The missing feedback. A point of frustration. There's one final major point of frustration that keeps popping up. The lack of explanation. One person noted, "They didn't even say why they didn't turn their chair." In a blind audition, when the coaches don't turn, they often offer detailed feedback to help the singer understand where they missed the mark. But in this case, many viewers feel Trevor was simply let go without the valuable coaching he came there for. This silence is amplifying the confusion. If the coaches had said, "The pitch was inconsistent, but we love your raw tone," the audience would have a clear reason to focus on. Instead, all we're left with is a fantastic but flawed performance and a ton of unanswered questions. So, what's the final public verdict on Trevor Hewitt's blind audition? It's a resounding yes for his talent. Everyone agrees he has a powerful, emotional, and commercially viable voice. He truly bears his heart on stage, just as the video title suggests. However, the no came from the technical execution and the strategy. It seems the volume and difficulty of "I Was Wrong" was a misstep, and the coaches, who are getting picky as their teams fill up, weren't willing to overlook the moments of pitchiness or the wild vocal runs. The audience, however, is far more forgiving than the judges. They see the star power through the technical mistakes. They heard the nice voice and the heart in the performance. The people have spoken. They want a redo. They want Trevor to take the judge's advice or the audience's advice and return with a more subtle, controlled song to showcase that undeniable grit and power. The biggest question now is, will Trevor Hewitt come back next season? What do you think? Were the coaches right to hold out for a more perfect performance, or did they just lose one of the most exciting raw talents of the season? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one.